testified repeatedly about him, Jesus, and has cried out, testifying officially for the record with validity and relevance. This was he of whom I said, he who comes after me has a higher rank than I and has priority over me, for he existed before me. And then in verse 16, listen to what it says here. Now it says this uniquely in the Amplified, but it really struck me, and so I stayed with the Amplified because I wanted you to hear this definition. This is speaking about Jesus here. For out of his fullness is what we're after. For out of his fullness, and that is defined as the superabundance of his grace and truth, we all have received grace upon grace. That is defined as spiritual blessing upon spiritual blessing, favor upon favor, and gift heaped upon gift. That is speaking to what I was attempting to describe and explain earlier when I was using superlative language to describe the experience of what the life of Christ felt like at the time. I was processing that at the time out of a 42-year-old mind, and there was much that the Lord had to me experience that I had not yet experienced at that time. I was just being ushered in to the beginnings of ministry in earnest. But it was about Jesus, it wasn't about ministry. Ministry crept in because ministry always creeps in. The stuff of man always seems to find its way in, but Jesus was trying to introduce me to himself. And at that particular point in time, after that moment of ignition, if you will, the only thing I knew to do in response was to come back home and to start getting up in the wee hours of the morning and sitting with the Lord for long hours. I'd never done that before, but all of a sudden, that's all I wanted to do. And it got to the point to where I started, instead of going to bed at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, I would go to bed at 9 p.m. so that I could get up at 2:30 or 3 so I could have more time to sit with the Lord because of the richness that time was after God had done what he did. Looking back, I can see where a pollution came in. Things started getting busy with ministry and invitations started coming, and people wanted to hear stories of the life and stories of the testimony. And there wasn't a pursuit of the life back then. There was just a pursuit of God, however he wanted to manifest. And there was an interest in the supernatural, and people were seeing that a supernatural thing had happened, and they wanted to hear the testimony about it. And so I started getting caught up in ministry, and guess what gave way? I stopped spending those long hours with the Lord. And that was a mistake, looking back. I should have said no to the ministry, and I should have stayed in that time with the Lord, soaking with him, being with him, sitting with him, and just letting my heart commune with him. I would counsel anyone who is experiencing the Lord fresh in a new way to focus on that time with the Lord and not focus on doing anything. Stay with the Lord until the Lord moves us into whatever else other than just being with him. All right.